Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. Hey.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Knights of the Pageless Library. This is a little podcast about reviewing audiobooks. I am Bo Knight.
And I am Ryan Knight. And today we're going to be talking about Animal Farm, written by George Orwell and narrated by Ralph Cosham.
Oh, okay, that's how you say it. I was thinking Cosham. I don't know. I need to learn how to read. No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it like that.
Yeah, you could definitely say it wrong.
But so for anybody who's curious, that's the one we're going to be reviewing. Is the one narrated by Ralph Cosham. And there is another one, it looks like, on Audible, which is where we, of course, got this audiobook. But it is narrated by Tamsin Gregg, it looks like, and that is a dramatization. So just so everybody's clear, we are not reviewing that one.
And there's a lot of them too. Like you're definitely if you just search Animal Farm, you can find some freaking YouTube professor just reading it to you. And we won't know how that experience goes, so your mileage may vary, but it's up to you, I guess.
Exactly, because we are knights and we are not pirates, and we paid for this book to do our review.
Yeah, paid hard-earned shillings.
So Animal Farm by George Orwell was, let's see, when was this written? It was a long time ago.
1946 is when I see it was published.
So actually, I'm seeing an even earlier one, 1945. But the audiobook we will be reviewing is done by Blackstone Audiobooks, and it is from 1991.
Yeah.
Which is actually pretty old for an audiobook.
Yeah, this was definitely on tapes at one point.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, 91 is pretty old. That's impressive.
Yeah, this is a pretty old book.
If anybody thinks that's not impressive or thinks that's stupid, please feel free to email us, kotpl.pod@gmail.com, and let us know your feelings about that.
Why did you start it with like a negative thing? It's like only if it's negative stuff you can email us.
I don't know, because you want some hate mail and we still haven't gotten any.
I want mail.
In case anybody's curious, though, you could email us would be the easiest way to get a hold of us at this point. You can also tweet at us. We're on
you could
YouTube.
Leave comments too.
That's right. We're on YouTube. I've been doing an absolutely horrendous job of keeping up with uploading our content lately. Don't judge me. I travel for a living pretty much, so it's really difficult.
I don't think anybody was judging you.
Well, they might. I mean, people judge people all the time.
Do they?
We're also on Spotify, so you could go over there, leave us a review or whatever the kids do over there these days. We're pretty much on any place you could find
I think
a
it's
podcast.
Google Play.
Okay, but we are on iTunes, which I mean that's popular, right?
So, yeah, some of the kids are talking about it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Definitely heard of it. But the best thing anybody could do for us at this point in our young blossoming podcast careers would be to just leave us a review. Good, bad, I don't think it matters. Just leave us a review. So if you like it, 5 stars. If you don't like it, just go ahead and hit the 5 stars anyway.
Yeah, just click 5 stars anyway.
And then click 5 stars and leave a shitty review. That's fine. We don't care.
These guys don't even know how to read.
Yeah, that's why we listen to books. Duh.
Okay, Animal Farm.
Anyway, back to Animal Farm here.
So, what is George Orwell known for, Ryan?
Obviously, George Orwell is known for this, and I would say 1984 are the two that come to my mind first and foremost. Which George Orwell is known for a lot of stuff, but I would definitely say 1984 is what comes to my mind first of all.
Yeah, 1984. 1984, and I think Animal Farm usually like in the same sentence.
Right. they're both kind of in the same genre, which the category of this would be like fiction, classic, kind of dystopia. So
This one isn't even really a dystopia though. Like this is more like his take on the Russian Revolution.
right, but you definitely in a fiction sense. He's using it as a fiction.
Right. But I just didn't want like people who've never heard of it to think like this is like set in a place that doesn't make any sense, like 1984 is, like compared to today's world. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. 1984 makes a lot of sense to me these days.
Okay, but that's not what I mean.
So for anybody who did not like read this or was assigned to this in history class, this book's fairly short. This book's only 3 hours and 11 minutes on the audiobook, so it's a pretty short
part
listen.
of that is just like George Orwell, like them talking about like how he felt about his writing.
Oh sure, yeah, definitely. And that's in the beginning, right? Like
yeah,
the very
I think
beginning.
it's about 30 minutes.
Right. Yeah. So this is even shorter total. The total listening time of this is very, very short, actually, for how much of a historical impact type of, I would say that this has had, because most people will have heard of this at least by high school. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, this is never a book I was assigned to read, but we definitely talked about it a lot.
We watched the movie of it when I was in
we
high
watched
school.
the movie too.
Yeah, we watched the cartoon, which I haven't seen it since high school. I probably should do a refresher of that, but I'm pretty sure you get the exact same information in that you would by listening to this.
It's a little less brutal.
Sure. Yeah, so what did you think about Ralph Cosham's narration of this?
I think he does a really good job. He has a nice voice just to listen to. There's not a ton of like inflection that kind of goes into this, but I think it's fitting. Like I think it fits the story well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, same. No, I agree 100% actually. I think he has definitely a great audiobook voice, and he portrays this book very, very well. Like it would have been hard to find somebody else to portray this book so well, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it was definitely a good pick.
Are you seeing a price on this? Like if somebody wanted to buy this right now?
Yes, you can buy it for $6.
Okay.
Which is a fair price, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that's not too bad for the amount of content you're getting. That's not too bad. You could get this for free if you were to sign up for Audible for $8 a month. You can listen to this one for free. Let's see. What did you think? Easy to follow? Easy to listen to?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, you have to keep track of events in your head, though, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like,
sure.
You because characters are going to mention things that happened, but like their recounting of the events are not accurate. So you kind of like have to keep in your head what like was told to you throughout the book, and like keep all that in mind when they're going through stuff. So it is kind of an easy listen and super short, but I think it does demand quite a bit of attention, and you kind of need to pick up on all the details about stuff because it all really matters.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, because there's going to be several times in the book where, like Bo said, a character is recounting their thoughts on an event, but you as the listener know that's not how it actually went down.
Right.
So if you were to miss key details of how it actually went down, you might be kind of confused.
Yeah.
But other than that,
it is a simple story. It really is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, at its core. And I think that's kind of what helps it stand the test of time, is that it's not overly complicated. It's not a freaking 30-hour audiobook, which it easily, to be honest, somebody could easily stretch this concept to something like that, like a 30-hour book.
Yeah, but this book doesn't have a lot of like characterization, but not in a bad way.
Right.
Like the characters don't, well, the animals don't really get much more than like the type of animal they are,
Hmm.
but that also pertains to something else. Like if that makes sense.
Sure. And even the animals we hear about, a lot of the ones that are major, um, like key players, a lot of their stuff happens behind closed doors that you as the listener aren't even going to hear about.
Right. Well, it, it's almost like the events are taking place and you're an outsider just kind of getting to peek through the window at certain times.
Sure. So let's let's go ahead and get to it. What do you think? Recommendations?
Yeah, I feel like you should listen to this one if not alone just for the cautionary tale that it has to tell.
Sure.
And I think it pertains a lot to society now, even. And yeah, I recommend this. I'll keep it at that.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this actually. If for nothing else, other than to see like this story, and we'll talk about it here in just a minute, but this story definitely can show you something that society could easily turn into.
Well, society did, like in Russia specifically.
Very true. Yeah. So this definitely talks a lot about. Well, I don't want to spoil it. Either way, like I said, I actually highly recommend this, especially to younger people. Surprisingly, I recommend this. I would think most
I think
people.
old people have something to learn here too.
Sure, that's a good point. I recommend this to everybody. I would think most people our age and older have heard of this. Um, Definitely though, I don't know if they're still like talking about this in however you online kids are doing schools these days. Um, but for sure, this I would recommend this to anyone of almost any comprehensive age because this book is written so simply that even though the concepts might be above like a middle schooler, you're still going to understand what happened. Like
Yeah.
it 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 is very basic at its roots. So I do highly recommend this to anybody.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And
So
it's
for
short, so just freaking take 2 hours to listen to it.
exactly, like this is a very short listen. I mean, if you have like a 30-minute commute to work, you'll finish this before your week is over. Like
Yeah.
there's not much excuses, before you know what I mean. So, um, so for anybody who's new here, we're gonna go ahead and pass the spoiler wall, which means if you want to listen to this and you don't want it spoiled for you, go ahead and go listen to it, and then come back and we're gonna talk about the story real quick and see what we think about it. So
So yeah,
there's
spoilers.
there's your warning.
So I don't really want to go into like the minutia of this because like that's gonna almost feel like a history class. Like there is so much like symbolism in this book and stuff like that that kind of like me as just like a casual listener is not gonna do it justice.
Sure.
But I mean there is a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. So yeah, story of Animal Farm is basically if you the cautionary tale is if you drink too much, your animals are going to learn how to talk and take the farm over from you.
Bingo. This story is told from an outsider's perspective, like Bo said in the beginning. So like a third person perspective of a farm ran by Mr. Jones, Farmer Jones. Is that his name? Jones?
It doesn't matter, does it?
It really doesn't. A farm is ran by a human who mistreats and misrepresents his animals to the point where the animals have an uprising and take the farm over from said human.
Yeah.
And then, once the animals take the farm over, a hierarchy is quickly established, being based on the animals' intelligence levels. The intelligence levels being pretty much from the pigs being the smartest down to like the sheep being the dumbest. And it's very quickly established that the pigs use their intellect to easily subvert the other animals' ways of thinking.
But
Basic.
not immediately, though.
No, that's the thing. It's a very, very slow burn, which is what ends up kind of getting the other animals in the predicament they end up in.
So the pigs take over, and they start running the farm, and they start running the farm really fair and justly in the beginning, and everybody's kind of getting what they need, and they're all working really well and everything together.
Even though
Go ahead.
I don't mean to nitpick details, but even though like it's super apparent from the very beginning, the pigs are like, all right, everybody, we got to do this, and this different than the humans to make this fair. Now, go do that. And
Yeah,
even
and the pigs
even
don't do anything.
right, exactly. Even from the beginning, the pigs are like, yeah, we need to do this, and then all the other animals do these things, and the pigs kind of just are dictating what people do.
Well,
So
the really big first moment, right, is that they realize they have to milk the cows. And so they milk the cows and they get the milk and they don't know what to do with it. And there's not
right,
enough milk for everyone, so the pigs just kind of they're like, oh, we'll just get rid of it. But
right,
then like it's almost immediately apparent to the other animals that the pigs are taking the milk for themselves.
exactly. Yeah, so there very
And their
quickly is a
justification why they need it is because they have like, in order to power their brains, they need more sustenance.
right. uh, they very quickly write some because the pigs learn very early on how to read and write the Queen's English, and they write these it's 7 statements, I believe.
The 7 commandments.
7 commandments. So they write these commandments on the barn wall in big white lettering. And throughout this story, some of the other animals learn how to read. Not very many of them, but some of them do learn how to read, which that's an important note in my opinion, is that very obviously, like it kind of goes back to that the in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king type of thing.
Yeah.
So the ones who know how to read very clearly in this world are the rulers, because they're the ones making the rules. Even other animals know these are words, and they clearly are words that humans know, but they don't know what they really say.
Right.
But the pigs tell them what they say, and they write these 7 commandments. And throughout the story, we see these 7 commandments not necessarily change in an obvious way. Like they're very subtle about it. They don't cross out words, but they add words onto the end of all these commandments to slowly change things so that the pigs are the only ones who are really benefiting from any of this stuff.
Right. And I think we should mention too, like there's like 2 pigs. It's Snowball and Napoleon, right?
Correct. Who
And
they
so
were the ones
they're
who
like
initiated the
leaders.
uprising.
Right.
Right.
They're like the leaders, but like they kind of like have a fight, and Napoleon basically executes Snowball.
Right.
But so he's like establishing like this demon figure for him to like champion against. It's actually so smart.
It's super clever, because in the beginning of the story, when they have their uprising against the humans come back to take the farm. And Snowball is actually one of the heroes of that, because he charges in first. He gets shot with a gun, but still manages to help chase the humans away. And later in the story, Napoleon spins the tale that the other animals remember, and he's saying, Snowball never did that. Snowball was on the human side the whole time. You guys just didn't see it.
Yeah, you're misremembering, because
Oh my
there's
God,
actually
it's crazy.
because there's actually a moment where like I think it's the horse Boxer is like, I don't remember it that way, and he lays out the events like Ryan just did. Like Snowball he was a hero, he did all this stuff, and and Napoleon's like, nope, you're remembering it wrong, you're dumb.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a crazy
horrible.
it's a crazy play on like intelligence, because I mean that's just it. He's planting these memories now in Boxer's head, and Boxer's intelligence is Boxer's not stupid as a horse, but he's not smart enough to really challenge what Napoleon is telling him.
Right. And like I remember this from history class. Like Boxer is supposed to be a representation of like the working class, because he like has to do all this work, but like gets none of the benefit from it all. And they work him into the ground. Literally, like that's one of the hardest. Like that's the most heartbreaking part of the book.
Yeah, it really is, and it really is a very. I mean, and this was written back in what do we say, the 40s, so it's a very poignant note that people should take notice of even today in 2020, is that, like you said, they work him and work him and work him, and all he does is he wants to do better. He wants to work so hard.
His saying is, "I will work harder."
Right. And then it evolves into, what is it? Like Napoleon.
Napoleon is always
right.
I
Exactly.
will work harder.
Which is terrifying, man. Because like I see that happening, and I'm sure people have seen this every year since this book came out. But you see that in what we're seeing today, is like people are willing to work hard for a cause that is really not that good for the overall population, like in reality. And that's terrifying.
Yeah, like there's a lot of parallels in this book, like obviously like the freaking upper class just like kind of like pulling the wool over the lower class's eyes constantly. And I kind of want to like cut to, so like throughout the book too, they're like the animals are starving, but the pigs are constantly proving they're like, no, we have more food. We have 200% more corn than last year. We have 400% more hay. We have 30% more clean straw beds. Like they're just like rattling off all these figures to the animals that don't really mean anything.
Exactly.
But they make them think that things are going well. But like on an individual level, the animals are all miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And the animals can't remember if things were worse when the farmer had it or better.
Right, and that's a big point towards the end, because obviously like Napoleon and Squealer, which is like Napoleon's mouthpiece basically to the rest of the animals.
What a freaking word choice. You are a god.
I mean that's what he is, right?
But that's what I mean. That was perfect. That was a perfect thing to say.
Yeah, so Squealer, so that's what I meant when before the spoilers, what I meant when I said that a lot of these characters, their story happens behind closed doors. And I was specifically talking about Napoleon, the lead pig, because he eventually takes over the human house, which in the 7 Commandments was never supposed to happen. So
right, they said like no animal will sleep in beds.
Right. And then in later on in the story, it reads, no animal shall sleep in beds with sheets. They add a few words to the end, which make it not human, but it doesn't mean that a pig cannot sleep on a mattress, which is very comfortable compared to the straw that the rest of the animals are sleeping on. But so Napoleon is making a lot of these decisions with the other pigs behind closed doors. And Squealer is really the one that we, as the listener, are getting most of the story from. He's the one going around telling all the animals what the news is and what the new decisions are. And he's the first one that if somebody's like, wait a minute, I don't remember it saying that, he's the first one that's like, well, you're clearly misremembering.
Yeah, that misremembering shit, dude.
Right?
Like, oh, that shit's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and this story is definitely not without its violence, because very early on, Napoleon, it's actually, so Napoleon and Snowball sort of take command together in the beginning, as Bo said, and then when their visions differ is when Napoleon basically chases off Snowball, and the way he does that is with he steals a bunch of puppies in the beginning to raise as his own like personal bodyguard, basically.
Yeah.
And the dogs, because the dogs have been just coerced and they've only known Napoleon's words, they don't listen to anybody else other than Napoleon.
Yeah, which I think is supposed to be like the representation of the military.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
This book too is basically, if you were to read like what this book is really about, is because the timeline when this book was written, it's actually about like Russia, essentially, like I think Bo mentioned earlier, and really kind of poking holes in like Marxism and the way
communism.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's very obvious to anybody who understands those things: Marxism, socialism, communism. It's very obvious when you listen to that. But if you were very young and you didn't fully understand that, that's what I think was trying to be said here. Is that he's talking specifically about Russia and communism and the way that Russia was being run at the time that this was written.
Right. And like I think one of the things he's trying to say in this book too is like it's like no matter what, like if you overthrow a bad government and you just kind of let people come in and give them ultimate power, it's just going to get as bad, or if not worse.
Exactly. And that's very true in our history as humans. Like, you might overthrow a really shitty socialist government, and then it's like 4 people are like, we know how to do it better, and everybody else is like, yeah, they know how to do it better, and next thing you know, they're like, this is exactly how it was, man. What the hell? Like,
well, yeah, like this book ends with the pigs start walking upright, wearing human clothes.
Yep.
So they basically just become humans, and they have all the neighboring farmers over for like a dinner, and the farmers are praising them that they're able to get so much work out of the animals and like do nothing to take care of them.
Right. And this is all seen we as the reader see this through the other animals' eyes looking in on this dinner party. And at the very end of the book, the animals say they can no longer tell who's pig and who's human.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what the whole point of the book is that if you let these people take over who say they can do things better, but you then let them position things to be exactly the way they were to begin with, you're not really making any progress.
Well, they made it worse.
They really did too, and we as the reader know that, or as the listener, but you're seeing that through the animals' eyes. Like you said towards the beginning, the animals don't know. Was it better with the humans in charge, or now with the pigs in charge? They don't know, but we as the listener know.
Right, and that's kind of what I meant, like that you have to pay attention, and it's like, I don't know, because like if you were just casually listening, you know, and like, because like other books do, they like bring up past events, but they kind of like give you a recap of what happened. But
Sure.
like this one, it brings up past events that kind of changes what happened. So you kind of like need to keep all that in mind of like how events actually transpired.
Absolutely, and this is definitely like if you listen to this once and you're like, man, that was dumb, for sure listen to it again. It's short, it's quick, it's to the point. Listen to it again and you're going to catch a lot of things the second time that you didn't catch the first time. I think George Orwell does a masterful job of that in his books.
He does.
It like leaving you little breadcrumbs before you get to the end, rather than a lot of authors, you know, the turns and stuff are not necessarily as eloquent, I guess, as this book, which is a super short listen. Like I said, you know, it barely over 2 hours. I mean, that's really, really short to convey such a impactful story.
Yeah, it's a pretty thin book too. I feel like it's only 80 something pages.
Oh yeah, I would definitely believe that. But like I said, think about how impactful this book is. I mean, that's impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean we're talking about it in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't talk to me about 2020.
Well, I mean, it's just stating a date.
I know. A date
So
to
yeah, you got anything
live
else you
on.
want to add about the book itself?
I don't think so. I think I mean we didn't mention Boxer's poor ending, but I was gonna say I don't want to beat this poor horse anymore. But
Yeah, and turn him into glue.
I honestly don't, man. Oh my god, that part's actually pretty gut wrenching.
Okay,
And
let's talk about it.
okay,
So
wait, wait,
boxers,
wait, 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 wait,
hang on,
wait,
go ahead.
wait, 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 wait. Before you even get to that, I think that the part that you were talking about in the beginning, where they talk about like George Orwell's reasoning and stuff for writing this, I think that should have happened at the end of this
I
story,
agree. It's
right?
just kind of weird to front load it. It almost expected you to have already have read or listened to the book.
Yeah, the way they say it is like it sounds like it should be at the end. Like it should be like the book ends and then they are like, "Oh, and by the way, George Orwell wrote this because XYZ or whatever." Like they front load you so hard because they even mention Boxer's untimely end. And
They do.
I'm like, "Whoa, wait, what?" Like so, and I'm not gonna lie, the whole story then I'm like listening to it and I'm like, is this the part where something happens to Boxer? Wait, when does something happen to Boxer?
So let's talk about what happens to him.
Okay, so the animals on the farm, they go about this in a very weird way, but they basically say like they set aside a part of the farm and they say once animals reach their age, like their retirement age, they get to go to this part. Like they set aside a pasture and they get their own grazing land and they live out the rest of their days here. And slowly, as the story goes on, over the few years of the story, uh, this land gets a little bit smaller, and then it gets a little bit smaller, and then it gets set aside for something else. And Boxer, the horse, is the whole time he's actually relatively old for a horse. So the whole story, he's kind of looking forward to his retirement years. And towards the end of the story, he reaches his retirement age. So he
He actually
has
gets injured working.
That's right. That's right. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Well, it's only important to make that distinction because of the fact that they are supposed to be calling a vet for him.
Correct. Yes, that's a good point. Um, and so Boxer, he gets injured, and all Boxer has done this whole story is try and do what he thinks is right. And basically what that is he's worked harder than anybody else on the farm.
He's a literal workhorse.
He literally is a workhorse. He's accomplished more than any other dog, or excuse me, horse. Um, he. The only reason I said dog too is I was actually thinking of the part towards the middle where they tried to put Boxer on trial for like heresy. You know, where the dogs try to attack Boxer and they can't
Oh
break.
yeah, dude. He just like fucking pins that one to the ground.
Yeah. So they try to pin heresy on they do pin it on several pigs and like several sheep and they kill these other animals. And they try to put Boxer in the same group, but they cannot beat him down. Boxer literally like stomps this one dog and they can't bring him down. So they're like, okay, he can stay. So Boxer works several years working harder than any other animal. And he gets injured, like you said. So the other horse, Clover, and the donkey, Benjamin, take care of him. And all Boxer's thinking of is, look, I only got a couple of weeks till I can retire. He says, I'm at retirement age for a horse. Then I get to go out to pasture, and all I hope is that the windmill gets completed, because that's what he's been trying to rebuild at this point.
For the third time.
Yeah. Oh my God, so tragic. Um, so the pigs say, "Of course, we'll take the best care of Boxer, and we'll get the vet to come take care of him. Then he can be healthy and he can retire." So the vet, quote unquote, cart and what is it? It's like a wagon, I guess, a covered wagon type thing, because this is old school, remember? So like a covered wagon with the sides, and it's a horse-drawn wagon, shows up to pick up Boxer, and all the other animals are excited because they assume it's the vet. But Benjamin, the donkey, who's super sullen and he's always kind of like just a poopy pants all the time, but he's smart. He's smart as shit. He can read, and he notices that the side of the covered wagon, it's oh my gosh, do you remember the name exactly of what it says?
It's something like awful and glue, something like animal parts, something like that.
Right. It's basically, yeah, it basically says they're gonna take Boxer, they're gonna grind him up, and they're gonna make stuff out of his body, is what it basically comes down to. I cannot for the life of me remember exactly what it says on the side of this, but Benjamin can read this because he can read pretty well for the animals. And so he's trying to say, hey, that's not the veterinarian. That cart is not here to take care of Boxer. But he says it too late. Boxer's loaded up. Boxer tries to break out of the cart, which is pretty gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
But none of the other animals really believe Benjamin, because shortly afterwards, I'm pretty sure Squealer comes out and he's like, no, that's obviously the veterinary cart. He used to be this thing, but he has since changed his name. Dude,
he didn't have time to repaint his cart.
Yeah, or like something like he is the veterinarian, but he bought this cart from this other. Oh man, it's so devious. Oh man. But so we get that's then that's right. The next day, Squealer comes around to tell everybody that Boxer has tragically perished at like the veterinary office, and he was there by Boxer's side the entire time.
Yeah, and Boxer said like, "Oh, I'm so proud of all the work we've done, and hopefully you guys can finish the windmill."
Oh yeah, oh, dude, it's harsh as a listener.
It's brutal.
Yeah,
because they're lying. It's so brutal.
Right, because to me, this basically says the pigs, they don't want to pay, quote unquote, to take care of Boxer once he's retired. Why not just get rid of him? He's seen
well, and they got
use.
money for that shit.
Exactly.
So they're gonna use you up until you're dead, and then they're still gonna use you.
Yeah. It's brutal.
Yeah. Oh, anything else we need to talk about Animal Farm?
I don't think so. I think we've beat this poor Boxer horse enough.
Yeah, he's been turned into too much glue. Oh, what are we gonna do next time, Ryan?
Next time, I think we're gonna do another Anime Squires episode. We're getting close to the end of Parasite the Maxim, so
yeah, we only got a couple more.
3 more actually.
Is it gonna come out even?
It's gonna come out even. There's only
Nice.
24 episodes. It's perfect. So yeah, so anybody can either look forward or not look forward to that, depending on your taste. I don't think that's for everybody.
Oh, that was a good one.
I know it's not for everybody, but that's also kind of what we're striving for. I think a little bit with this podcast is we don't necessarily want to be pigeonholed into only talking about one subject. So that's kind of one of the other subjects we're talking about right now. So
Yeah, and maybe in the future expect something else too.
For sure. So until then, if you liked this, like I said, go anywhere you're listening and just give us a quick little 5 stars. You don't have to write a review if you're lazy like me. Just the quick little click, 5 stars, quick little finger tap. That'd be great. We'd appreciate it. We appreciate anybody who's listening. So
Yeah, it means a lot to me.
it really does. And yeah, and I guess with that, we hope to catch everybody in the next one.